Q&A. Ashish, can you please unmute?
Sure. Thank you for giving the opportunity. I'll start with saying the heart seems to be in the right place, right? So please don't get us wrong. Like it is a very complex problem that you're trying to help, solve or get better, right? So please take this feedback as like just constructive feedback as concerned citizens. I'm also a father of young children, and I'm really concerned about the safety and security of my family, my neighborhood, my community, and Santa Clara in general. Like, what are we going to turn this city into and this neighborhood into? My, first thing was like, have we done the study about the impact of such a shelter uh, in the adjacent communities? What the heck happens once it happens over there? Take a look at San Francisco, where it has been there for quite some time. What happened over there? Like, learn from that. And I'm very pleased to hear you say a few times that safety is your number one concern, but you only mentioned your clients, your volunteers. You never even once mentioned neighborhoods. We are most concerned about the neighborhood. What steps will be taken? One or two staff members do not suffice to make sure that nothing bad is coming out of that pocket that affects the adjacent communities. That is the concern. Like, so if anything else, I think safety of the neighborhood is the biggest concern. And I would love to know what other options were evaluated as potential sites, especially away from schools and established single family communities, if any. And has there been any study on the impact to residents with such shelters? The example was San Francisco. And like eventually, like how does this improve the quality of life for residents who are in proximity? I heard like some of the neighbors who live very close, mention about possible deterioration of their quality of life. Like, what is the impact to those? These are also like important tax-paying individuals for Santa Clara. If the quality of life deteriorates, like similar to a lot of people who move to further suburbs, these will also leave. That revenue will go away from Santa Clara. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you want single family homes to actually move away. But if we really care about the community, we should, hold ourselves responsible that whether or not the shelter deteriorates the quality of life. And if it does, who should we, the people, hold responsible? Because we have been saying quite a bit about that we're concerned about the safety. If someone is overriding us, like despite all of this, and it goes on, and later on this becomes a city that is invested with drugs, or a community which gets those kind of incidents even more, we still get plagued by vandalism. There was one night in which within our neighborhood 25 cars were broken into not too long back. And imagine like our fear when we hear about things like that. There is a reason why we are afraid. The city we are seeing is not investing in local infrastructure like filling up the potholes on major roads like Lawrence. Our safety, even right now, is not perfect, let alone be, not even decent, let alone be perfect. And when we hear this, so please understand this is coming from a place of we want to live in this community, we want to make it better, we are already suffering, and this is like a straw on the camel's back at this time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ashish. Given that we only have about 25 minutes left, we're going to prioritize those that have their hands raised. We will be saving all of the Q&A answers that folks have typed in, and we will be posting that on the website in the next week or so. So we're going to move on to Sanjeev. And folks, there are 37 people with their hands raised. So if we can be mindful so that we can get everybody's comments. Otherwise, again, we will be having an in-person meeting in March. Go ahead, Sanjeev.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. And definitely want, echo Ashish's sentiment that, your intentions are very honorable and, you're trying to do the right thing. No question about that. But I think, there are some nuances to this, right? we are fully supportive of like low income housing on a more permanent basis, because once residents live in a place for a longer period of time, they're also incentivized to be more cooperative and more, engage more with the community and, work for the collective good. But when you have a transient population, and especially the one that's described as, more than half being drug addicts, for example, that is concerning. So that's the first part, and the second part is it hasn't been clear yet. It was also concerning that when the question was asked that how many schools are in the walking vicinity, and no one really had an answer for this. So that seems to suggest that not much research was done while evaluating this specific location. And to take it even further, right? I mean, I do support even homeless shelters, just as long as we pick a better location where they're placed. Especially after the COVID pandemic, we don't have a shortage of locations where businesses have been shuttered. A lot of industrial areas have vacant lots or vacant properties. They're perfectly good candidates to be acquired, at a low market price, given the economic conditions over there. And I'm sure the people here are more than supportive of such efforts. So we are not against poor people, we're not against homeless people, we're not against anyone really. We just want to make sure that everyone's interests are accounted for, and especially the local community, so that so once the local community feels safe and secure, they will feel better and more engaged to support your other efforts as well.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eva Sun? Go ahead, Eva.
Hi, thank you. I want to echo the previous, Ashish, Gavin, Sanjeev's points. I just take a look at the elementary schools, and within 1 mile, there are so many. Palmery Elementary, Peterson Middle School, Barrett Elementary School, Stratford and Elementary School, Laura Wood Elementary School. So many schools over there, and I'd like just to, people do some research and give us some data support saying that, okay, after building a shelter, there won't be any negative impact on the health and lives of the residents over here. If you can provide that data and persuade us and respect all of us opinions, we will support. Thank you.
Thank you.
But now I don't support. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll make sure to bring that information and share with you the steps that we took to identify. Cindy? Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity. So I agree with all of the above mentioned concerns for the safety, and especially the safety for the children and the seniors. And also, I think it's become pretty clear and obvious that this proposal doesn't take into consideration the concern of the neighborhood. So I wish for the following 2 meetings, you either provide more data-driven and also statistics of the solidarity of this project, or we should consider some other places to make this a better and more sustainable proposal. I want to add in another perspective on this, because I have been working as a volunteer for shelter, not in California, but in Texas when I were a PhD student. And also, I also interviewed as a journalism student at that time, interviewed homeless people, and also watched quite a lot of documentary about the homeless people. So there are some findings actually I find is quite against what Dr. Greenberg's observation or hypothesis, because first thing is when I volunteered in the shelter is the safety, and it's also the healthiness, also cleanness of the shelter is really a concern. So people there, not many really people in need would live there. So many people, they are in need, they don't want to go to the shelter for several reasons. First, the shelter is full of people with drugs and also with crime history. They don't want to identify them together with those kinds of people. So that's why they'd rather sleep on the street than going to the shelter, because and then as a consequence, the shelter becomes a worse place because people who really need, they don't want to go, but only people like having the similar habits, they will go there. So I think this might not really serve the hypothesis, the hypothesis that also the goodwill, like we don't really want to build those shelter. So I think another layer to that is we might need to do a better screening and rethink really about those solutions. Are these really the best solutions for the people? How can we really help those people? And also, I believe if you, also Dr. Greenberg, I believe if you are an expert in like moving out those shelters, you should have seen like a documentary, I think recently, interviewing 5 different families across the US about the homeless people. And one family with a little girl, they lived in the shelter. They had lived in the shelter in San Francisco. And she specifically said she never wants to go to the shelter anymore because she never dared to go to the toilet or the restroom by her own at night, because there are just so many people that she concerned, her family concerned her safety as well. So
thank you, Cindy.
thank you.
And just for clarification on that last note, we'll clarify that at the next meeting so that we can describe the actual proposed project. Linda, please go ahead.
Hi, yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. I do share the same concern that many people had already spoke. And I'm wondering that I also speak with a lot of neighborhood and residents during the past weekend. And most of the people are concerned and are happy with this proposal. I'm just wondering, given the majority of the community is against this proposal and the feeling that people have, would that even benefit anyone if it did come through and make the shelters? Will the people living in the homeless shelters get along with the people in the neighborhood? Yeah, that's my one question. The other one is that I'm also concerned for the location we choose. So as everyone know that the space is very close to the to Benton and Lawrence, which Lawrence is the main road with a lot of traffic and high-speed cars. And they also mentioned in a note that 57 people are with physical or mental issues. How do you guarantee that people with mental issues will not get hurt themselves when living next to the the main road with a lot of traffics?
Thank you for the comments. Next, we're going to move on to EW. EW, go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thanks for providing me the opportunity. So I do share the same concern, especially after the Dr. Greenberg mentioned this is a low entry barrier. So we do have some safety concern here. And so I also don't understand, even Consolo, you mentioned that the Bella Vista one will be converted to the permanent one, but still we will have 2 homeless are shared in the same neighborhood, and which is a mile so to the neighborhood, to the business, and also to the residents here. Yeah. So I think you do need to consider this. Because right now, the middle class who living in the Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, we already take a lot of pressure. I know the house price here in Santa Clara is not cheap. So we are working so hard to maintain our house and to pay the mortgage here. And we do really want to live here and to improve the life quality and improve the neighborhood. But if you put another shelter here, so this is really damage a lot of things. And I do also share the concern from other people. So a lot of young kids are living here. And so more than 10 different schools are in this neighborhood. And one more thing is the pumpkin patch. Actually, a lot of Silicon Valley kids love this pumpkin patch. They have a good memory of this. So if you build the shelter here, the kids will lose their place to celebrate the Halloween. Yeah. And we want to help the homeless people, but to choose another way, which is a better way. Thank you.
Thank you, EW. We're going to move to Manish.